life changes the questions. So it's quite dynamic. And so there is one thing important always we have to remember. We are going to have a story also some other time, right? Nothing is permanent and everything is temporary. Whether you are at high spirits or you are at low spirits, everything is temporary only. It's for a few moments it will be like that. So we should not get frustrated because of low level of response, or you should not get too much elated. So when everything is going well, right? Because everything is temporary and it's going to change. So everything goes in cycle or ups and downs, right? So nothing is just because of that only. Actually, the life is so thrilling, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. So it is everything challenging. So life is interesting because of that only. So we'll have that inspiring quote. Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led by the dreams in your heart. Right? The driving spirit must be your dream, but not fear. And so today's the birthday of the great musician Padma Vibhushan Amjad Ali Khan, who is the sarod player. So he says there is no essential difference between classical and popular music. Music is music. I want to communicate with the listener who finds Indian classical music remote. The beauty of our music lies in the whole concept of freedom within discipline. So it's really a paradox-like thing. Freedom within discipline. Okay, there is freedom to improvise, but within limits. And there is another great engineer who worked with the auto, right? Auto cycle, who has invented petrol engine. So this Langevin, he worked with auto, and who was working to improve to the gas engine invented by Belgian Etienne Lenoir. Okay, he's another famous fellow. He's one particular cycle he has invented. Okay, Lenoir cycle. If you go through the internet, you can come across Lenoir cycle. So I told you all heat engine cycles, or refrigeration cycles, or all other cycles have 4 processes, right? So 4 processes will be there. But this is a special cycle which has only 3 processes. Okay, so a cycle with 3 processes, and it's interesting the concept to understand and know. The technically trained Langevin recognized the potential of auto's development, and 1 month after the meeting, founded the first engine factory in the world. And in 1862, they have displayed this engine where they got a huge prize for that. And today we will have the lecture 23. And in the last class, we discussed about isentropic efficiencies of compressor, turbine, nozzle, and diffuser, and practical problems with Carnot engine with vapor as the working fluid. I told you we want to have Carnot engine always, right? We try to approach it, and because of the limitations, we have to modify our cycle so that we will come to some practical cycle. And out of that, it is the Rankine cycle, right? In the Carnot cycle, if you want to have within the dome of PV diagram or TS diagram, so we will have problem at the entry of the pump and at the exit of the turbine, where there will be water vapor mixture. So which cannot be handled by pump and also by the turbine. Okay. And if you want to keep the whole cycle extending outside of the dome, then the heat transfers should occur at constant temperatures, which again takes very long time, and turbo machines are very fast machines, so we cannot handle that. So these are the limitations with Carnot cycle. So we have modified it to have Rankine cycle. We extend the bottom line towards the saturation lines on both sides. Okay, so that is the way we got the Rankine cycle. And also we discussed Rankine cycle with pump efficiency, and turbine efficiency. And we have done a problem on the ideal Rankine cycle, problem on Rankine cycle with component efficiencies. And we have seen what are the methods of increasing the Rankine cycle efficiency. we will go in detail now. Okay, again further, because I told you to increase the area of that, so we have to extend the lines on all the sides. Okay, then we discussed about working of vapor compression refrigeration cycle and problem on refrigeration cycle. So this is the ideal Rankine cycle which we have discussed. So we have pump, boiler, turbine, and condenser. So here pump work negative and heat added positive, and turbine work positive, and heat lost in the condenser negative. Okay, so the net heat transfer, which is Q in minus Q out, is equal to the net work transfer W out minus W in. Okay, and as I told, this W in, though I put it, it is only just 1 to 3% of the turbine work, and it is very, very small because I condensed it to the liquid. The pumping of liquid will take very less work. Okay, so that is what we have discussed, and so we have seen that pump work is equal to H2 minus H1, and so Q boiler is equal to H3 minus H2, and WT is equal to H3 minus H4, and Q condenser is equal to H4 minus H1. So we can see that WT minus WC is equal to Q boiler minus Q condenser, which is equal to W net. So efficiency is equal to W net by QH. So this is the way we can solve the problem. And also we have seen that if there are efficiencies, component efficiencies, WP actual is equal to WP ideal by 0.8, efficiency of pump, and W turbine actual is equal to W turbine ideal into efficiency of the turbine. So in this way we can find out, and W net actual is equal to WP actual, minus WP actual minus. And the QH actual also we have to find out, the H3 minus H2 actual. So this way we have to find out, then efficiency is equal to W net actual by QH actual. So this is the way we can find out the efficiency for the component efficiencies. Okay, now we will see advantage of Rankine cycle or other cycles is during the compression stage. As I told, gas turbine and the steam turbine both have the same processes. Compression and expansion, both are isentropic. Heat addition and heat rejection, both are isobars. Okay, all are similar. Only the difference between Brayton cycle and Rankine cycle is there is a single phase in gas turbine. There are two phases in steam turbine. This is another important point you have to remember. All the processes are same. But still, Rankine cycle has more efficiency than Brayton cycle, mainly because of the compression work, as I told. So here, you can see relatively little work is required to drive the pump. As the working fluid is in liquid phase at this point, by condensing the fluid to liquid, the work required by pump is only just 1% to 3% of the turbine power, and contributes to a much higher efficiency for a real cycle. So this is the main advantage of Rankine cycle and why the efficiency is very high compared to Brayton cycle. And as I told, methods of increasing Rankine cycle efficiency, this is one of the important points I wanted to highlight. Any heat engine efficiency can be increased either by increasing the average temperature at which heat is added, or by decreasing the average temperature at which heat is rejected. Okay, so I have heat addition line at the top, heat rejection line at the bottom. So I have to take the upper line up and bottom line down so that I can have maximum work and efficiency. Okay, so this is a main important thing, whether it is a Brayton cycle or Rankine cycle or Otto cycle or diesel cycle. At the temperature at which heat is added should be high, temperature at which heat is rejected should be low. It is because 1 minus TL by TH, we know it. Okay, so TL should be minimum, TH should be maximum. Okay, So that can be achieved by decreasing condenser pressure, increasing boiler pressure, increasing temperature of superheat, by providing reheating during expansion or providing regeneration feed water heating before entering the boiler using blood steam from the turbine. These things we have discussed. So still in detail with figures we can see here. So if I decrease the condenser pressure down, okay, so initial cycle is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now by bringing it down, I have 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 and 4 dash. This is the modified cycle with decreasing condenser pressure. So from the figure, you can see there are some increases and decreases. Okay. So here area is increased by this. So I have network increase. And here heat input, previously it is 3 to 2, 2 to 3 only. Now 2 dash to 3. So a little bit of increase in the heat added. Okay, this is very less compared to the work that I am getting it. So the efficiency increases. That's what here it is given. Colored area in this diagram represents increase in network output as a result of lowering condenser pressure P4 to P4 dash, okay, by decreasing this. Heat input requirement also increased by this curve under 2 dash, okay. But overall effect of lowering the condenser pressure is an increase in the efficiency. And there is one disadvantage. So in the original cycle, if you see, it is almost saturated here. When it is brought down, my moisture increases at the end of the turbine. So that is to be, we have to be careful. So when you are decreasing it, this is one of the disadvantages. The moisture increase by decreasing the condenser pressure. This is one. And another thing, if I want to decrease the pressure below the atmospheric pressure, I should provide vacuum pump. So vacuum pump, I have to spend some more energy. But still, the energy loss is comparatively less compared to energy gained. Okay, so here there is a little bit of pump work increased here. Here vacuum pump work is increased, but still the network is positive. Okay, so higher increase in the work is high than decrease in the work. Okay, so there are 2-3 things. One is the moisture increase. Another is the vacuum pump is to be used to reduce the pressure. And another limitation, I cannot decrease it to whatever level I want, because here heat transfer should take place. So the hot water is to be cooled by cold water outside. So I cannot reduce this temperature below the cold water outside. Okay, so there will not be any heat transfer, then I cannot cool it. So that is another limitation you have to remember. So I think everything is clear. Okay, then we'll go to another one. Okay, some more things. P condenser cannot be lower than the saturation pressure corresponding to the temperature of the cooling medium. That's what I told. The temperature of the cooling medium is some 35 degrees outside, and I cannot decrease this below that. So there cannot be heat loss. There cannot be condensation. And lower P condenser creates the possibility of air leakage into the condenser. So here, because if I want to maintain the condenser lower than the atmospheric pressure, so what happens? Air leaks into that. So I should have a de-aerator like thing. I have to remove the air that is trapped. And lower P condenser increases the moisture content, as I already explained. And the presence of large quantities of moisture is highly undesirable, right? So I cannot have large moisture here because it erodes the turbine blades, which I have discussed already. There is another thing, increasing the superheating temperature. Okay, so by increasing this, I increase the area by this, right? But QH also increase. There will be increase in the heat added because I have to spend some more fuel, and turbine work also is increased. So both numerator and denominator in the efficiency increase, but in effect, we have increase in the efficiency. Why? Because the average temperature at which heat is added increased by this. So because of that, there will be increase in the efficiency. So total area under the curve 3 dash represents heat input. Overall effect is an increase in thermal efficiency due to increased mean temperature at which heat is added. And the main advantage is it goes from 4 to 4 dash here, which decreases the moisture and it becomes more dry. So this is very, very good advantage with superheat. but temperature to which steam can be superheated is limited. This is what is called metallurgical limit. If you remember gas turbines also, we have metallurgical limit. As the turbine inlet temperature increase, my efficiency increase very much. But there is a limit to the maximum temperature we can provide based on the material that we use. Okay, so here also around 620 degrees centigrade is the limit for the turbine inlet temperature. Okay, so this temperature has a limit. So in the gas turbines also, it is normally 1200 Kelvin for normal materials, and if you have high temperature resistant materials, you can have up to 1500 at 1800 degrees centigrade, Kelvin. Okay, so up to that we can have. That is what is called as metallurgical limit. And by increasing the boiler pressure, so initially I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now by increasing the boiler pressure, so 1, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash will come. So here also you can see there is increase in heat addition. Okay, QH is increased, but area also is increased, right? So QH and W both are increased in the efficiency, but we know that the average temperature at which heat is added is increased, so efficiency increases. But the another disadvantage is again the moisture. Moisture is increased. Okay, so initially it is more dry, but now wetness is increased. So this, whenever I want to increase boiler pressure or decrease condenser pressure, I have to better accompany with superheat, so that my problem of this moisture can be reduced. Okay, so this is about this. Then another thing is reheat. It is just like your gas turbine reheating. So up to certain pressure, the first turbine it expands, high pressure turbine, and then it is reheated in. So it is like this: first high pressure turbine, then the steam goes and it gets reheated in the boiler, and it comes back to the low pressure turbine and then expands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here there is heat addition in the boiler. Here there is heat addition in the reheater. Okay, so here also there is increase in the heat addition and also increase in the area, but average temperature at which heat is added is increased. That's why the efficiency increase. Okay, but the main advantage is there will be large increase in the decrease in the moisture. It will be more dry. Okay, because I am pushing it to the right side. Okay, so this goes away, and sometimes it may be superheat also, right? So that is the way we can have reheat cycle. And so Q input is equal to Q boiler plus Q reheater. So H3 minus H2 plus H5 minus H4. And W turbine output, I have two turbines now. H3 minus H4 first turbine, H5 minus H6 second turbine, minus the pump work is H2 minus H1. So that gives me the net work. So that is the way we have superheat the steam to very high temperatures is limited to metallurgically. So here I cannot go this reheating more than this. This is the limit. I have metallurgical limit. Up to here only I can reheat. Okay, so that is the way I can do that. Expand the steam in the turbine in two stages, and reheat is in between. In between. Okay, so that is about reheating. The advantage of reheat cycle: it improves the thermal efficiency, it increases the network output, it reduces the steam rate per kilowatt hour. Okay, mass flow I can reduce because this much of power I need. So mass flow into work is equal to power. So if work per unit kg is increased, I can reduce the mass flow. Okay, and it improves the condition of the steam at exhaust. Okay, that's what I told. So so here exhaust condition is improved. This is this, and the next thing we discussed is about regeneration cycle. As I told, after the first pump, okay, here 1 to 2 is the first pump, and then it goes to feed water heater, where it is combined with the tapped steam or bled steam, and its temperature is increased from 2 to 3. So again it becomes saturated. Now it is pumped again in the second one to reach the boiler pressure. Okay, so instead of a single pump, I have two pumps here, but it doesn't matter. Pump work is very small. And then boiler, and here it is like that. So here, after expansion up to here, some steam is tapped here. The remaining steam is expanded in the from here to here. Okay, 6 to 7. Okay, this is the way we have regeneration cycle. And so preheats the steam entering the boiler using a feed water heater, improves the efficiency. Also decrease the fluid and reduces the large volume flow rates at turbine exit. Okay, so as we already seen, if my work per unit area mass flow increases, I can reduce the mass flow, and it also deaerates the fluid. Okay, so whatever air is trapped with the water, that can be removed in the open feed water heater, where these two are combined. So this is the advantage of regeneration. And combining all together, we lower the condenser pressure. Limitations I am telling here, the limitations. How much temperature pressure I can reduce for condenser. So must have at least 10 degrees centigrade difference between condensing water and condensate water. Okay, so both I have to have at least 10 degrees centigrade. And the quality at the exit of the turbine should be 88% at least dryness. Okay, it cannot be more than 12% wetness. This is the limitation for lower condenser pressure. And superheating, the metallurgical limit as 620 degrees centigrade is the limit. And increasing boiler pressure, again, because of high temperature is limited, I cannot go for very high pressures. 30 megapascal is the limit. Okay, then reheat and regeneration. This is the detailed explanation of Rankine cycle effects. And this we have already discussed, the turbine pump efficiency and turbine efficiency. And we have done the problems. And these are two problems we have done. And then coming to vapor compression refrigeration cycle, I told this is a reverse one. And only thing is, instead of a turbine-like thing here, we have an expansion valve. Okay, so because it reduces the weight of the machine, and also the advantage, expansion gives positive work, but that will be very negligible, and I will have other problems like handling the turbine and cost and all. So throttling is just a valve or a small coil. It is very cheap. So this is one it is used. So here compression, and then I have condenser where heat is given out to the atmosphere, then throttling, and where heat is taken from the evaporator. Okay, so this is the vapor compression refrigeration cycle. So we have drawn it in pH diagram and TS diagram. So in the TS diagram, the compression will be vertical, and throttling will be a bit curved. But in the pH diagram, throttling will be vertical line, and isentropic line will be inclined line like this. And it is a bit curved, but you can draw it like a line. Okay, so this is the way we have vapor compression cycle, and we have seen how a domestic refrigerator look like. Compressor at the bottom of the refrigerator and condenser behind the refrigerator, and inside we have this particular evaporator, or which is freezer compartment, and there will be a small coil like thing, capillary, where the throttling takes place. And we have seen how it works. And so when you solve the problem, I think in thermal Rankine cycle also, just I will repeat. So we will be given this pressure, and this temperature. So okay, we will come to this. So this pressure, and this temperature. So I can find out this is P condenser, this is P boiler, this is P superheat. So H1 is equal to HF at condenser pressure. And we also find out V1 is equal to VF at condenser pressure. And W pump is equal to H2 minus H1 is equal to V1 into P2 minus P1. So VF1 we know, P2 minus P1 we know, we can calculate. So H2 is equal to H1 plus W2. So H2 I get. And we go to superheated tables at T boiler pressure and T superheated. You can find out what is H3 and also S3. So S3 is equal to S4. And so X4 is equal to S4 minus SF and SFG. So these two are at condenser pressure. For this 4, this is at condenser pressure. So if I can find out X4, I can find out. So H4 is equal to HF plus X4 HFG. So again, these two are at condenser pressure. So like this, I can find out H4. Once I get H1, H2, H3, H4, I told you we can find out QH, Wn is equal to W turbine, H3 minus H4 minus H2 minus H1. So this is network, and QH is equal to H3 minus H2. So efficiency is equal to Wn by QH. Okay, this is the simple way we can find out. Again, once you know the efficiencies, we know how to use the efficiencies. Okay, so it is very, very simple, and you can do it in just a few seconds. Only thing is we have to use the tables. Okay, and coming to refrigeration cycle, vapor compression refrigeration system. Again, you will be given two pressures. So you will be given the condenser pressure and the evaporator pressure. Okay, so H1 is Hg at evaporator pressure. Okay, and H3 is equal to H4 is equal to HF at condenser pressure. And so for and again S1 is equal to Sg at evaporator pressure, which is equal to S2, right? And Pc is equal to P2. So I know P2 and S2. So go to superheated tables. So you find out the temperature in this table at which this matches. If it is not matched, you have to interpolate. At this temperature, I have to get H2. Again, by interpolation, if it is between two temperatures, I have to interpolate. So once I get all these things, I can get COP. COP is equal to QL by W. And QL is H1 minus H4. And turbine work, the compressor work is H2 minus H1. Okay, that gives COP. So it is again a simple one. Only thing you have to use tables, saturated and superheated tables. Saturated tables for this point, and superheated table for this point. And 1 and 3 saturated, and 2 for superheated. Okay, this is the way we can solve the BCRS cycle. So this also we have done a problem with R134A as the working fluid. And coming to gas turbine, okay, this already you know in detail, you have studied. So we'll take a simple Brayton cycle, and then if time permits, we can discuss with a complete cycle with all the components with component efficiencies. But that is not in the purview of thermodynamics. We solve a simple Brayton cycle. Okay. So if you see here, I have compressor, combustion chamber, and turbine. Okay. So actually, this is an open cycle. But if you want to do the analysis, I assume that it is cooled back and recirculated. Okay. A heat engine is a closed cycle, basically. Now, so Brayton cycle is an open cycle. And assuming that after expansion of the turbine, there is an air cooler which cools the air and brings back to the original state, then only I can complete the cycle like this. So otherwise, this 4-1 is an empty one. Actually, it is open cycle. It goes into the atmosphere, and that's all. Okay, so we assume these are called as A standard cycle assumptions. Okay, so we assume the cycle to be closed, and so here PV diagram and TS diagram I have drawn here. So 1 to 2, it is isentropic because compression and expansion will be isentropic. These are steady flow machines, turbo machines, so they are very high speed machines. So always the ideal ones are isentropic, not isothermal. Okay, and heat transfers for a steady flow machine is always constant pressure heat addition, because I cannot have constant volume heat addition. If I want to have constant volume heat addition, I have to close it, heat it, and then release it. Okay, then it will not be steady flow. So if I want to have steady flow heat addition, it must be constant pressure only. Okay, so that you have to understand. So I have 1 to 2 compression, 2 to 3 isobaric heat addition in the combustion chamber, and 3 to 4 is the isentropic expansion in the turbine, and 4 to 1 isobaric heat rejection in the air cooler. Okay, and so here also 1 to 2 compression, 2 to 3 heat addition, 3 to 4 turbine expansion, and 4 to 1 heat cooling in the air cooler. And we have the steady state steady flow energy equation, delta Q is equal to dH plus delta W. As I told, either delta W is 0 or delta Q is 0 based on the process. And if you come to the compressor, H2 minus H1, compressor work, and boiler, H3 minus H2, turbine, H3 minus H4, and condenser or cooler, H4 minus H1. And QH minus QL is the net heat transfer, and WT minus WC is the net work transfer, and both will be same if you see here. And efficiency is equal to 1 minus QL by QH, and QL is H4 minus H1, and QH is H3 minus H2. So 1 minus H4 minus H1 by H3 minus H2. Because this is a perfect gas, okay, assumption is perfect gas. Unlike the previous VCRS or Rankine cycle. So here I can write Cp into this, Cp gets cancelled, I get this. And if I take T1 common here, T4 by T1 minus 1, T2 common here, T3 by T2 minus 1. And the pressure ratio is defined as R. R is P2 by P1. And P2 by P1 pressure ratio for this, and P3 by P4 also same, pressure ratios are same. So the pressure ratios are same means temperature ratios will be same. So T2 by T1 is equal to T2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is equal to R power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Because P2 by P1 equal to P3 by P4, this is a P3 by P4 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. Again, from the isentropic relation is T4 by T3. So T2 by T1 is T4 by T3. If I replace these two, I can get T4 by T1 is equal to T3 by T2. So these bracket terms gets cancelled. I will get only 1 minus T1 by T2. 1 minus, we know that T2 by T1 is R power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So T1 by T2 is 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1 by gamma. This is the efficiency. This is the ideal cycle, Brayton cycle efficiency. Okay, this is the way I can derive the expression for efficiency. And when you solve a problem, okay, before solving the problem, I can go to a practical cycle. So practical cycle, I will have some losses here. So the turbine goes like this, turbine expansion, and compression goes like this. And I can have what is called a regenerator. Okay, as I told, there are two reasons why gas turbine has less efficiency. One is most of the work is taken by the compressor, whatever is developed by the turbine. And another thing is large heat is lost to the atmosphere. Okay, at this point, I have very large heat. So if I can recover some of the heat, okay, so what I do is from the turbine, whatever is coming here, and whatever I take, send it to the compressor. If I have a regenerator where the air going into this gets heated, okay, so this is the so this T5 is used to increase the temperature T2. Okay, so by this I can increase the temperature T2 to T3. So because of this, I can reduce the heat added, which is T4 minus T3. Okay, heat addition is T4 to T2 initially, but because this is heated with these exhaust gases, I can increase the temperature up to T3. So now the temperature heat added is T4 minus T3. And the heat that is given to this air is T5 minus T6. Okay, only this is the air that is lost. This is utilized. Okay, this is utilized and this is lost. And this area is equal to this area. Okay, so that is the way. And here we define what is called as effectiveness of regenerator. So ideally, I should be able to increase the temperature T2 up to T5, but I may not be able to because of heat transfer problems. It can heat up to T3 only. So ideal temperature rise is T5 minus T2. Actual temperature rise is T3 minus T2. So the ratio is effectiveness. Okay. What is the actual temperature rise? T2 to T3. And what is ideal temperature rise? T2 to T5, T5 minus T2. So this is the effectiveness of heat exchanger. And turbine efficiency, H3 minus H4, the small one, by H3 minus H4S. This is isentropic. S should be there here. Similarly, compressor efficiency, the smaller one, H2 minus H1, by the larger one, H2S minus H1. Okay. H2 minus H, sorry. Compressor efficiency, H2S minus H1 by H2 minus H1. Okay. So this is the way we define compressor efficiency and turbine efficiency. So if you see Brayton cycle problem, okay, what are the things I have to have? This is compressor work, and this is QH, this is WT, this is QL, right? So you will be given the inlet conditions T1, T1, and you have to be given the pressure ratio R, and what is the temperature to which it is heated, okay, T3. These are the minimum data that I need, okay. So I have to calculate P and T at all the points, and once I get them, temperature known means enthalpies are known because it is a perfect gas, CPT is H. So in that way I can find out everything. And so if I want P1, T1 is known, I want P2 and T2. So P2 is equal to RP1 because R is equal to P2 by T1. Pressure ratio is given. So P2 is equal to RP1. And if I want T2, T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So knowing T1, I can get T2. And T3 given. And P3 is equal to P2. And if I want the P4 and T4, and P4 is equal to P1, because this is the same line, and T4 by T3 is equal to P4 by P3 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma, which gives me T4. Okay, so that is the way I get all of them. So W compressor is equal to Cp into T2 minus T1. QH is equal to Cp into T3 minus T2, and Wt is equal to Cp into T3 minus T4, and QL is equal to Cp into T4 minus T1. Okay, so I can get this, and efficiency is equal to W net or Wt minus Wc by QH. Okay, so in this way I can find out. This will be, if it is ideal cycle, this will be equal to 1 minus 1 by R to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. You can check it. Okay, this is the way we can do it. But sometimes we will be given this efficiency and this efficiency. So again the same way. So Wt actual is equal to Wt compressor by eta C. So I have to supply more work. Wt ideal. Okay, and sorry. Wt ideal into turbine efficiency, and WC actual is equal to WC ideal by eta compressor, and okay, that's it. So W net is equal to actual is equal to WT actual minus WC actual. Okay, and your QH will not change. Okay, so QH also changes. Okay, because I have to find out the new temperatures here. Okay, so this temperature WC actual is H3 minus H2 dash or H2. Okay, so once I know the actual work and sorry, here the compressor work, actual work I know. So actual work, if I know H1 plus compressor work, we will give you H2. Okay, so in that way I can find out T3 Cp into T3 minus T2. This T2 gets modified, okay, to get the heat addition. Okay, that is it. And so based on the data, you can solve the problem. Okay, any questions? Is it okay, everything? Okay. So we have taken a simple cycle in the gas turbine, but as we have studied in turbo machines, there can be number of stages for compressor with intercoolers and number of stages for turbine with reheaters, and you can have regenerator, and so all of them together you can have, and all of them will have its own effectiveness and efficiency. If you have intercooler, you have to know whether it's perfect intercooling or not. If you have a reheater, you have to know to what temperature it is heated, up to metallurgical limit or some other limit. And all compressors, will they have same efficiencies or different efficiencies? All the turbines, whether they have same efficiencies or different efficiencies. If I have heat exchanger or regenerator, you have to know what is the effectiveness of heat exchanger. And in addition to that, because turbine, a compressor is running by the turbine, I have to know the transmission efficiency. And also, I found out QH, okay, but how much fuel is to be spent. So based on the calorific value and combustion efficiency, I have to find out what is the fuel that is to be added. So you have to find out fuel air ratio, we have to find out the specific fuel consumption, and you have to find out what is the power. If I know mass flow of air into network gives me the power. So it depends, depending on the data that is given, every data that is given, you have to utilize. Okay. So just go point by point, you have to draw the TS diagram properly with all the components, with all the processes, and point them properly. And just go from point to point. Okay. Just calculate pressure and temperature at each and every point. Once you get them, you can find out individual compressor works, turbine works, or heat transfer, heat added, and regenerator, if it is there, what is the actual heat is added. Like that, you can find out everything. Only thing is, draw the diagram properly, go from point to point. Okay, like that you can solve any gas turbine problem. It is not a big thing. So here, as I told, regenerator effectiveness is given. The air at the inlet to the compressor, the inlet conditions are to be given, and pressure ratio is given. Maximum cycle temperature is given. Okay, so it is very easy. Directly, you can, as I told, by step by step, you can find out that. So you can, okay, suppose if you take up this problem. You are given P1 0.1 megapascal, 30 degrees centigrade, 900 degrees centigrade. 0.1 means 30 degrees centigrade. Only thing is you have to be careful, you have to put it in Kelvin. How much is that? 900 degrees centigrade. Okay, so once you know P1 and T1, and okay, these are there, this is there, and you are not given, you can have pressure losses here. There will be a lot of pressure losses also in gas turbine problems. Pressure loss in the combustion chamber. If you have a heat exchanger, there will be pressure loss on the air side. There will be pressure loss on the gas side. Okay, those data also you have to use. But here, this is a simple problem. So T2, P2 is equal to RP1. So what is this pressure ratio is 6. R is equal to 6. So P2 is equal to RP1, P2 is equal to T1 into P2 by P1 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, so you have to, I will put T2 dash here, okay, and 2 is the actual one, this is 4 dash, and this is 4. So compressor efficiency is equal to T2 dash minus T1 by T2 minus T1. T2 dash is calculated here, so I can calculate T2 here. So that is the way compressor efficiency is used. Okay, and P3 is equal to P2, and P3 given, and so T3 T4 by P3 is equal to P4 by P3 to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma, from which I can calculate T4 dash. Okay, isentropic one I can find out. So turbine work, turbine efficiency is equal to T3 minus T4 by T3 minus T4 dash, which gives me, because T4 dash is already obtained, I can get T4. Okay, so this is the way I can find out T1, T2, T3, T4. And if I have a regenerator, suppose, so then I can have like this. So this can be some 5, and this can be up to some 6. Okay, so effectiveness of heat exchanger. Actually, I should be able to increase the temperature up to T4. Okay, so ideal one is T4 minus T2, but the actual one is T5 minus T2. So T4 is calculated here, and using effectiveness of heat exchanger, I find out T5. Okay, this is the way I have to find out T5. And then coming to all the things, now QH is equal to Cp into T3 minus T5. And WC is equal to Cp into T2 minus T1. And WT, Cp into T3 minus T4. And efficiency is equal to WT minus WC by QH. So this completes the problem. I have used regenerator, I have used the efficiency of compressor, and I have used the efficiency of turbine. Okay, so this is the way, just go point by point and use all the data that is given. And okay, the problem is solved here. We can go through the values. You can check whether your values tally with this or not. So you can see the efficiencies are very low. Okay, 19.9%. So,
Sir, regenerator efficiency is 75.
Yeah, 75% effectiveness. So we lose a lot of thing. Effectiveness will be very low because heat exchanger will be very huge, right? If I want to have heat exchange between exhaust gases and the air, right? And how much time I can provide for the heat transfer? One is at high temperature, one is at low temperature. If I want to have the complete heat transfer, that is, if I want to make T2 to T4, right? I should have very long time for these two to uh, have perfect heat transfer. But usually heat exchanger, how much big you can put, okay? You cannot allow very long time for it to heat exchange. So it will be somewhat shorter. Even then it occupies a lot of space and it increases weight and all. Okay, so regenerator can never be used in aircrafts. It can be used in power plants. Okay, so the effectiveness is very less. But at least we can utilize some of the heat that is going to be completely waste to the atmosphere, right? I am not spending any work. I have only investment of having a big heat exchanger there for lifelong, for its whole life. I need not change it. So only thing is the effectiveness is somewhat less because I cannot completely heat that compressor air to the exhaust air temperature. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
effectiveness was only 75% only, right? And also some of the typical values you have to remember. Turbine efficiency, compressor efficiency, if you see, usually turbine efficiencies are a bit high. Okay, up to 85% you can have. Compressor efficiency will be 80% only, not more than that. And turbine efficiency may go 90, 93 like that. And transmission efficiency can be up to 99%. Okay, transmission efficiency is very small. It's only bearing losses and all. And the combustion efficiency, because here usually combustion efficiency in IC engines is very small, but here the air fuel ratios are very high. Lot of oxygen will be there. That's why combustion will be try to we can have almost 98% combustion efficiency. So combustion efficiency will be up to 98%. And you will have pressure losses, right? If you remember, there will be pressure losses in the combustion chamber because it is going with high velocity and the boundary layers and temperature boundary layer, all those things will be there. You will have pressure losses. And it will be given in terms of the inlet pressure. So 2% of 3 to 4% of inlet pressure will be lost. And not only in the combustion chamber, if you have a heat exchanger, because one side air is going, it will lose some pressure, and one side gases are going, it will lose some pressure. So that is, if you see the these lines, right? Here I lose 2 steps of pressure. Okay, one is in the combustion chamber here, and one is in the heat exchanger on the air side. Here also, if I want to send it to the through heat exchanger or regenerator, I cannot expand up to atmospheric pressure. I can expand only a little bit more so that it can flow, right? If it has to flow through that, its pressure should be a little bit higher than atmospheric pressure. So in the turbine, I cannot completely expand to the atmospheric pressure. It should be a little bit high. Okay, so P4 will be P1 plus delta PHG. Delta PHG means the pressure loss on the heat exchanger on the gas side. Okay, that is the way the pressure losses are utilized. And if you want P3, P2 minus delta PB, that is pressure loss in the burner, minus delta PHA, that is heat exchanger losses on the air side. Okay, that is the way I have to find out the pressures. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is the way we have to handle gas turbines. Then we will have a simple problem on Otto cycle and diesel cycle also, right? So just quickly we will see what is the Otto cycle and diesel cycle. And I told you the difference between Otto cycle and diesel cycle. In the Otto cycle, we take air fuel mixture into the cylinder. In the diesel cycle, only air enters the cylinder. Okay, and after the compression, spark is to be given in the Otto cycle. In the compression ignition, we have to inject the fuel. So the parts difference is I will have carburetor and spark plug in petrol engine, and fuel pump and injector in the diesel engine. Okay, and once the combustion is there, it will be pushed down, there will be power stroke, and then we open the exhaust valve, there will be exhaust stroke. Okay, if you want to see, actually though Otto cycle is this TS diagram, and I have to do from this. Actually it is this line normally people don't give. There is always a confusion in Viva exams. People will ask, okay, you are telling four-stroke cycle, and here there is first processor cycle are given. Which stroke is what? So people always get confused. Okay, where is the suction stroke? And this is compression, this is combustion, and this is expansion. And where is the exhaust stroke? If this is exhaust, where is compression stroke? So people get confused about that. So that is not that. Actually, you have to draw the diagram this way, the real diagram. So like a compressor, when it is sucks, it is constant pressure sucking at the atmospheric pressure, right? So it goes to the end of the cylinder. So if I draw the piston, this is the clearance volume, this is the clearance volume, this is the cylinder volume, and this is the stroke volume. So stroke starts from here to here. So air is sucked from here to here. This is the suction stroke. Then there is compression stroke, where the pressure is increased. Okay, so now it is at the top end. Now we give the spark. So at the time, actually this is almost constant. It has to reverse its direction. So for a small moment, the volume remains constant and burning takes place because of the spark. So this is what is called as constant volume combustion. There will be sudden rise of pressure and temperature. So we go to this, and then it goes back. Okay, so this is power stroke, expansion stroke or power stroke. It came to the end. Okay, now I open the exhaust valve. Suddenly all the gas is released. This is called as release. This is called as release. Okay, so heat is lost here. This is heat addition. This is heat lost. And then again the piston is brought back to the original position. Okay, so the cycle, this is suction stroke, compression stroke, and sudden combustion, power stroke, sudden release, and then exhaust stroke. Okay, so this is the way. There are four strokes only. These are 1 to 4s and 2s to 3. These are not strokes. Okay, that is the main thing. Okay, here this is the real cycle. So real cycle, there will be, it will not be just straight line, because unless my pressure inside the cylinder is less, it cannot suck the air. Okay, it goes down like this. In the same way, when it is pushing the gases out, inside pressure will be more than the outside pressure, and it will be like this. And all these things will not be sharp, it will be rounded like this in the real cycle. Okay, this is the real cycle, actual cycle. This is the ideal cycle. And without this, okay, and this is this. And you can see here, this is a clockwise cycle, this is anti-clockwise cycle. So here I lose some work. This is what is called as pumping loss. When you study IC engines, you will study in detail. Okay, so anyhow, this way I'm not interested in. Normally I am interested in this area only. So here there will be heat addition, here there will be heat rejection. Area of this is equal to QH minus QL. Okay, and okay, next class we will see how to solve a problem of a Otto cycle. Only thing is, okay, the cycles are not there in the syllabus now before mid, it is after mid only. But everywhere there are processes. Isobaric is there, isentropic is there, and mass flow, how to find out the work, how to find out the heat transfer, everything related to first law flow processes only. Okay, so if you see this practical cycles, how to handle, how that is useful here, you can understand that. Okay, here I will stop. Any questions? Any questions? I explain pressure losses in Brayton cycle again. Okay, whenever there is a heat exchanger, okay, whenever a flow takes place in a duct, in a pipe or anything, there will be friction and there will be boundary layer and all those things will be there, because of which there will be some pressure will be lost. So my compressor pressure is so high, but when the time it reaches the turbine, it loses some of the pressure. That is called combustion chamber pressure losses. Okay. In the same way, when I have a heat exchanger, this air, compressed air is going from one side to the other end, and the gases are coming from one side to the other end. So for flowing it, it loses some pressure because these are pipes. Okay. So it loses some pressure. So that is heat exchanger pressure losses on the air side and the gas side. Is that okay? Even if I have intercooler, in the intercooler also there will be some pressure loss. If you have a reheater, in the reheater also I will have pressure loss. So if you take a big problem, I will have pressure losses in the combustion chamber, pressure losses in the intercooler, pressure losses in the air reheater, and pressure loss of heat exchanger on the air side, on the gas side. All these things will be there, which are to be incorporated in the problem. Is that okay? Transmission efficiency. Okay. I told already previously one problem we had on compressor needs some work. It is connected to motor, right? So exactly the same work, if it is given, there will be some transmission loss because of the bearings and all. Okay. I have to supply a little bit of more work from the motor so that whatever exactly needed by the compressor, it reaches there. By the time it reaches from the motor to compressor, I lose some work or energy. That is called transmission efficiency. Now in turbine, gas turbine or Brayton cycle, turbine is running the compressor. So these are connected by a shaft. Okay, this is to be transmitted through shaft from turbine to compressor, and there also bearings will be there. Here also bearings will be there. There will be some losses will be there. That is transmission efficiency. So the turbine work needed is equal to run the compressor is equal to WC by mechanical efficiency. That is, I have to supply more work. Okay, that's that. Yeah, we have gone beyond the mid portion. That is nothing to worry. Actually, you have to discuss with A section, B section people, because Jai Krishna sir is going to set the paper also. You check what is the covered there, and that will be the syllabus for your mid exam. And also you check what are the problems they have done. We also have done the problems. They also might have done some more problems. You go through them also. Okay, Mahendra, what is your one more doubt? What is the difference between power turbine and gas generator turbine? Okay, actually, the turbines, this is called as twin shaft turbine. If I have two turbines, there are two types. I can have a single shaft on which I have high pressure turbine and low pressure turbine, or sometimes there will be two turbines, one running the compressor and one running the generator. Okay, so a single shaft turbine means compressor, high pressure turbine, low pressure turbine, generator, all are connected to the same shaft. But here, when I have power turbine and gas generator turbine, so I will have gas generator turbine runs the compressor only, and power turbine runs the generator only. Okay, so gas generator turbine produces work which is just sufficient to run the compressor. So the pressure ratio of gas generator turbine is decided by compressor work. So the remaining pressure ratio, whatever is there, is expanded in the power turbine. I have to calculate what is power developed by the turbine, and that is given to the generator. And this is called a twin shaft turbine. Twin shaft turbine. These shafts are separate. The gas generator turbine running the compressor is a separate shaft. Power turbine connected to the generator is a separate shaft. This is twin shaft turbine. Okay, so in the single shaft turbine, you have to calculate first turbine work, second turbine work minus compressor work gives the net work. But here it is not like that. Network is produced by power turbine only. Yeah, that's right. That is the network. You understood well. Okay, that is that. So here sometimes there will be mechanical efficiency for both shafts we have to use. Which doubt you have asked? Hemant? If turbine drives the compressor, there will be loss in workout. No, sir. Yeah, there will be some loss will be there. That's why, see, when turbine drives the it's always turbine only drives the compressor. There is nothing else. I always lose work there, and the remaining work only I get as the net output. That's why I told the efficiency of Brayton cycle is somewhat less, because 40 to 50% of the work is taken by the compressor, and the remaining only I get as the net work. Transmission efficiency also type of mechanical loss. Yeah. Mechanical efficiency or transmission efficiency are the same. Both are same. Is it okay? Yeah, there is only place where we come across closed cycle gas turbine is nuclear power plants. Nuclear power plants. And closed cycle means I have to recirculate the same air or whatever is the fluid. Okay. Usually, whenever I have a closed cycle gas turbine, I don't use air, because if I use air, the whole engine will be a bit huge. I can use any other fluid. Okay. So like normally helium is used. So if I use helium, the size of the whole engine gets reduced, and I don't lose it. Why I use air is because it is freely available. I can burn and in the fuel, burn the fuel in the air and leave the exhaust gases out and get the fresh air. Okay, without any spending on that. That's why I can have open cycle. But if I want to have closed cycle, I need not use air. Right? I can use a better fuel, better working fluid, which will give compact machine with required output. If turbine only does the work, why don't we start the cycle with heat addition instead of compressor work? So this is the problem always we get. If you want to close the cycle, there should be a compression. Okay, so it's like why should I have condenser in the steam turbine? I need not have condenser in the steam turbine. Why to use condenser again? After turbine, I can just lose the water. Okay, I should have a big condenser because I have to recirculate. I have to complete the cycle. Initial state should be achieved to complete the cycle. And otherwise, tremendous amount of water I have to spend. I take lakes and the rivers I have to spend for 1 day of running the power plant. Because I have to clean the water. I have to get the pure water. Otherwise, the compressor, pump, turbine, everything gets spoiled. Right? I cannot use raw water from the river or this thing. I have to purify it and then use it. I don't want to lose it. I want to recirculate it back. Is it okay, Karthik? Anything else? Okay, we'll have the story then. Beautiful story, a small story. We'll go to that. So there is a great tennis player, Arthur Ashe. He's mainly great because he's the first black fellow who was taken in American as an American tennis player. Arthur Albert Ashe Jr. was an American professional tennis player who won 3 Grand Slam single titles. At that time, he's a black fellow. Ashe was the first black player selected to the United States Davis Cup team and the only black man ever to win the singles title, Wimbledon, US Open, and the Australian Open at that time. It's a tremendous achievement for a black fellow in America to achieve that. Okay. And okay, it is not the only thing. Okay. There is he's actually a great philanthropist, right? So whatever money he used to get, he used to spend for social cause. And he's like a god for many people. Like many people used to praise him and like anything. And he has got very good name. But during a heart surgery in 1983, he got infected by the blood that he received and contracted AIDS. Okay, because of that. And from all over the world, okay, all people in the world, they were shocked, and they started writing letters to him, and one of which conveyed, why does God have to select you for such a bad disease? Actually, he's a very strong believer of God, right? So people asked, okay, if you believe so much and you are such a good person, then why should he choose you for this bad disease? And okay, now uh, he has to give and write reply to that. Actually, because he is a celebrity, he cannot just say something, right? It affects the lot of public. So he has answered beautifully, and I liked that and I loved it. Okay, what did Adar Ash reply to this? He says, the world over, 50 million children start playing tennis. Out of them, 5 million learn to play tennis. And out of them, 500,000 learn professional tennis. And out of them, 50,000 only come to the circuit. And out of them, 5,000 reach the Grand Slam. And only 50 reach the Wimbledon. And 4 to semi-final and 2 to the finals. And when I was holding a cup, I never asked God, why me? Why you have chosen me? And today, in pain, I should not be asking God, why me? I don't have the right. When you have so many things given to you as gifts, we never praise God, but only some small thing happen, bad thing happen, you don't have right to blame the God. So that's what he says. I really liked it. Happiness keeps you sweet, trials keep you strong, sorrows keep you human, failure keeps you humble, and success keeps you glowing. But only faith and attitude keeps you going. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.